Walk with me on the devil's left way path, where we will take several turns along the way. This path is multifaceted, dark, light, and everything falling betwixt. Crooked our steps will be, for the journey is never straight nor narrow. Greetings and salutations. I am Kindra RavenMoon. Welcome to the Thorn Rose Witch podcast. Here is where we discuss a bit about everything that falls under the umbrella of dark spirituality, witchcraft, Satanism, devil worship, and all things related above, below, and beyond. How are you today? I hope your week went well and that you're enjoying a relaxing and possibly productive weekend. I contemplated whether I should speak on the Ars Goetia for today's episode. Then, after listening to an amazing interview that Ecstasy, Theistic Satanism conducted with the infamous RJ Womack, aka Brother Nero, and what he stated on the topic, I felt encouraged to follow my initial intuition and present my input on it here today. If you're interested in listening to the interview, which I do highly recommend, I linked it below in the description box. I also highly encourage anyone interested in Theistic Satanism to subscribe to that channel. I feel that many of you will find value in it. Now, diving in. The Ars Goetia refers to the first book in the Grimoire, the Lesser Key of Solomon, a 17th century text detailing 72 demons that the assumed King Solomon supposedly bound, each with specific ranks king, duke, earl, etc., and attributed powers, and unique seals or sigils for summoning, representing a core text in Western ceremonial magic and Christian demonology. Goetia signifies magic, especially spirit invocation, and these demonic figures are often depicted as fallen angels, offering knowledge or power in exchange for souls, of course, how typically Judeo-Christian, right? And with each of these titled spirits, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here, commanding legions of lesser demons. The grimoire is one of 5 in the series and is heavily influenced by Christian morals and views on the occult and magic, categorizing everything as being either unclean or pure, with the demons of the Goetia viewed as being unclean spirits, of course. As mentioned, the Ars Goetia, or otherwise known as the Lim, Lemegaton. I'm losing my voice today, so please forgive me. I'm going to have trouble pronouncing even the simplest of words. But as I was saying, the Ars Goetia, also known as the Lemegaton, is part of a 5-book collection that details demonology, angelology, and ritual magic. These are titled in this order, or these books, I should say, are titled in this order. First, we have, of course, the Ars Goetia. Then we have, secondly, the Ars Thurgia Goetia. Then Ars Paulina. Fourth, Ars Almadel. And finally, fifth, the Ars Noctoria. These texts focus on summoning spirits and performing magical, intellectual, or spiritual tasks. Many who are new or amateur to the occult, especially those following a path of dark spirituality, such as Satanism, for example, think that the Ars Goetia is the be-all, end-all when it comes to demons and how to work with them. This notion couldn't be further from the truth. First, one must understand that the Goetia is formulated to trap the demons it presents. Secondly, one cannot properly work this system of ritual magic without compiling and incorporating the rituals of all 5 books in the series. Thirdly, many don't seem to know the background of the spirits listed or the reasoning behind the initial creation of the given sigils presented in these grimoires, like why they are encircled and why the spirit's name is written within the inner circumference of the circle. In short, the sigils or seals, if you will, presented in these grimoires are formulated as holdings or traps. It's to contain the demon's energy, or a demon's energy, I should say. When a name is placed in a circle in such a manner, it is to trap or bind them. The sigil itself is to call forth the spirit. The circling around the sigil with the name of the spirit written within it is meant to contain it. In the case of a spiritual Satanist or devil worshipper, etc., attempting to work sigils in such a manner is highly disrespectful to the demonic spirits they are working with. And for any practitioner of the magical arts, this way of working is highly dangerous. Know that not even the most skilled magician can trap a demon. They can only capture an essence of it, but not for any extended period of time. To think that a mere mortal can have power over an ancient or primordial force is one of the biggest illusions and lies one can convince themselves to be true. Also, keep in mind that these titled demons rule over legions of lower, unranked spirits. It is more than likely that the demon one is trying to summon or bound will send forth in its place one of these lower spirits it rules over, or that because these lower frequency spirits are closer to our atmosphere, or might even be entirely earthbound in some cases, will be the only ones that hear the practitioner's call. All must be taken into consideration when working with such forces. This is why it is important to know yourself. Trust your honest instincts, sharpen your psychic senses, and know the energies you are working with. You must learn to differentiate energies and characteristics of the spirit forces you are calling in from those of another. As with any of the grimoires of old, I want you to know that many of them aren't ancient or even that old for that matter, with many of them fabricated during the Renaissance era. That's roughly between the 14th to 16th centuries. This was a pivotal period for the creation, compilation, and study of many occult grimoires, a bridge between medieval magical traditions and the early modern occult revival. Prominent Renaissance and early modern grimoires, I should say, would include the 3 books of occult philosophy from 1533, published by Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. This was a massive synthesis of Renaissance occult thought, covering cultural, celestial. Sorry, I'm focusing so hard on trying to keep my voice. I'm not even sure what I'm saying anymore. I'll repeat that. It's covering not cultural but natural and celestial and ceremonial magic. The Key of Solomon, as stated earlier, from the 14th, 15th century. Although earlier traditions existed, this fundamental Solomonic text was refined and frequently copied during this period. Then we have the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic, from the 15th century. This is a prime example of 15th century dark magic and necromancy. The fourth book of occult philosophy is also another one from post 1533. For some reason, this book is falsely attributed to Agrippa. This work, along with others like the Pseudo Demonarchia Demonium, reflected a strong continued interest in demonology. Then, of course, we have to mention the Arbitel de Magia Veternia or Veturium from 1575. This is a significant work on ceremonial magic and planetary spirits. There are so many other systems, sources, and demon listings outside of the Goetia that many embarking on dark occult paths today seem to be ignorant of. The spirits of the Ars Goetia are only a small fraction of the demonic spirits one could respectfully work with. If you look into other spirit listings, you will find that the hierarchical rankings of demon listings differ from one another. This is because the titles placed on these demons, as with many of their names, are fabrications of the demonologists, scribes, or monks who compiled the listing. This is why it is wise, once you have made a connection and obtained a solid bond with a spirit force, and trust has been built, be open to learning its true name, or at least the name, and maybe even the title it wants you to address it by. Scrolling through social media, we can see how those claiming to be adept magical practitioners, be these Satanists, witches, magicians, or whatever, who want to prove they are what they claim to be, present and show off their rituals and spells so that everyone on the internet can see. They tend to exaggerate about their workings or outright lie about their practice and magic in general. They like to use theatrics, aesthetics, and some are now even using AI not only to enhance their visuals, but to script their presentations. Well, those authentically connected on a spiritual and magical level do not behave in such a manner. Those authentically working with the dark forces don't need to, and know that for several reasons it is best to keep such things to themselves. It is personal. All this smoke and mirrored bullshittery isn't because of how technology has changed us, as some people like to think, or that contemporary society has affected people's mental state in such a way. These things do exist, but it's no excuse for people doing what they're doing online when it comes to occult matters. Outlandish behaviors were also common within those claiming to be occultists in the past. In general, basic humans like attention. And I say basic humans like attention, sensationalism, and strive for recognition. It seems that the majority of the human race within modern society is swimming in contaminated waters. In this aspect, we as a species have changed. Or, sorry, we as a species have not changed, I should say. Take much of what you read from the reproductions of these old grimoires with a large grain of salt. I personally consider them sources of occult entertainment that hold some motivational inspiration that could be applied to my practice. The construction of sigils or the notion of communicating with demons and other spirits are two examples. And when I say construct of sigils or seals, I don't mean copying the given sigils as presented in the Ars Goetia, but rather to utilize either the given symbol representing a spirit's name, minus the circle around it, so as to connect with that spirit, or to channel a spirit's force's energy, so as to obtain the symbol it prefers you to use to represent it. Often, this will be something personal between you and the spirit, a secret symbol only for you to use. Now, before ending this segment, to lend some additional food for thought, I would like you to take into consideration that we don't have any solid proof that the occultists before us, those who fabricated or worked with the old grimoires, achieved any results, experienced what they claimed, or obtained the information presented as we know it from where they claimed. Considering that many practitioners who are working the exact same rituals today as presented in those old grimoires do not achieve the results the occultists of the past claim to have, it could very well prove that many of these grimoires are sensationalized fabrications, never expected to have been taken seriously to begin with. And remember, I mentioned about there being other spirit listings existing apart from the Goetia. Well, John Weir's Pseudo-Demonologia Daemonium, as is believed to be the source from which the Goetic listing derived from. And if this is proven to be true, based on evidence currently presented, many scholars and occultists do believe this to be true. This would make the Ars Goetia an even younger grimoire than initially believed. With all this, the core point I wish to make is that we shouldn't put too much stock into what we believe to be the power or potential power of these old grimoires. And we shouldn't try to authenticate the value of a practice or tradition based on its age. Magical currents are meant to progress and adapt. Magic and the occult in general are fluid, flexible, not stagnant. Even if authentic in approach, what might have worked in the past doesn't necessarily mean the same will function properly now. Times have changed, and with that, so have understandings, education on a matter, and mindset and frequency. And finally, my advice to anyone wanting to learn about other types of demons apart from the Goetia, aside from what I have already shared herein, there's also Colin de Plancy's Dictionnaire Infernal. But also, it would be good to look towards the variety of folklore, cultural demons, and mythologies found across the globe. And read up on fairies is another thing I could recommend. And what is known as the fairy faith within traditional folkloric witchcraft. Look into it. There are other sources, but this is all I can fathom at the moment. Do your due diligence. If you want to find demons, you will. Now, don't forget, next Friday I'll be upholding. Sorry, again, I'm focusing on trying to keep my voice here. Don't forget, next Friday I'll be uploading a video answering viewer questions. You have until February 11th to get your questions in. Submit your question to my email address found in the description box below or under my community post about it, my community post here on YouTube, the one that is about where I'm speaking about the Q&A, or in the comments under my announcement on Facebook, which is pinned to the top of my timeline. Thank you to those who have already submitted your questions. I'm looking forward to responding. I got some interesting ones. And for all For all of you lonely hearts out there who got nothing better to do but to tune in to my channel on Valentine's Day in the evening, this podcast will be here waiting for you as scheduled. Next week's topic will be on Lilith. I know many of you will be looking forward to that. So until next time, my dears, I bid you darkest blessings under Lucifer's light.